Hey folks, Dude here, coming at you of all things, Knife Blog. Oh man, it's been a while since I've done a knife blog, but this one's going to be kind of a cool one because this is going to be a two-part, it's going to be two things in one, okay? Literally what we're going to have today is we're going to have an unboxing from some seller that I bought something from on eBay. Oh man, what are we going to open it with? My absolute favorite hack and stabber on planet Earth, the Techna Dive Knife. So let's crack this sucker open here and see what we get. Now, the thing is, most people will tell you, the Techna Dive Knife, the blade geometry, the edge, it's not this, that, You know what? It's really intended as a dive knife slash combat slash kind of, it's actually a little bit on the small side, okay? It's only about a 3.5-inch blade or so. But by and large, in the good old days of, when stuff was cool and they made knives to be, well, used, they had a lot of interesting stuff. Got these little inflatable bag guys, and I do have a very well packaged piece. I'll be sure to record that on Dude's eBay profile. He sent me some good stuff, and this is literally the first time opening this box. So there is no, gimmickry here. There is no kind of goofiness. It's just literally me getting the item that I purchased on eBay and bringing it out for you guys to, well, place your eyes upon. Now, literally what this is, as you can see from the sheath, hopefully, it says Gerber. Yes, this is a Gerber Guardian of a very unusual variant. This one actually is, this is the skeletonized version. Where normally you would have these things, and you would see these knives. Let me see if I got my example here. Yes. It would have an alloy handle, and this is one of my construction pieces. It would have an alloy handle bonded among a tang, and it would have itself as the standard, appearance Gerber knife that you would remember from time of old. It had the alloy handle on board of the knife. Now, usually what they did when they did these things, and I have a good example here so I can show you, the classic way these things were built. Literally what it was a rat tail tang that then had the handle cast around, or was, slippy fingers today, or it was cast around the handle, or it was epoxied in place. Most times, I believe it actually was cast about the handle, hence why you have the little, nip there and a little nick on the other side to lock it in place. There is two little nicks on the blade to lock it in place. Most times you're going to be engaging these knives, you're not going to be pulling hard enough to disengage it from the alloy handle. Most times it's going to be thrusting versus pulling. So they figured that logically. Why would they have big, huge honking cutouts for a blade that's going to be stuck in a piece of alloy, and it's pretty much going to be there in a perpetuity? It was a two-piece construction. It was alloy and steel. Usually, one of the 400 series is stainless, but this one is unusual because it was all one piece of steel. I think what it was is Gerber said, let's come up with our own version of a dive knife. So let's just put these guys side by side and see what we have in terms of sheer comparison. Handles are exceedingly almost like dead nuts. Blade length is almost exceedingly dead nuts. I think what it was Gerber looked at the Techna and they said, you know what? We just simply have to blank the blade out, not put a rat tail on it, and literally just simply make this as a skeletonized blade. Now, I can tell you for a fact, the actual thickness of the steel is quite a bit thinner than the Techna. The Techna is about a 1/4 inch. This one is about, I'm going to say probably about 3/8, maybe just a skosh more, but it is not a full 1/4 inch thickness. The thing is also, it gives it a little bit of a lighter feel. It's not nearly as balanced as this one. Or actually, no, it's the other way around. Actually, what it is the Techna actually feels very balanced with just a slight bias towards the handle. This one has a very, very handle-heavy bias because the blade profile is so light. The sheath is nothing crazy. It's simply just a belt loop, and you slip it in. And I think may have been in the distant past that this may have been in better shape, and it actually did kind of hold on the blade a little bit better. This guy said he bought this thing years and years and years ago, and it was just pretty much just a, knock around piece. He never really did anything with it. And by and large, looking at the blade, it has very, very minor nicks. It looks like it's the factory edge. It's been used a few times. Do have a couple little itty bitty rust spots. Let me play with my focus here. Give me 1 second here. maybe just a little bit of rust on the blade there. Hopefully you guys can kind of see it. Just a tiny bit of rust. And by and large, it is in about the same kind of shape as which it came out. It has an epoxied or just a standard paint baked on type of thing on it. The paint has minimal amounts of wear on the tip. Very, very minimal amounts of wear on, the edges along, the wear points where it'd be the high points riding in and out of the sheath. I would tend to think, charitably, that this really, truly has not had a whole heck of a lot of use, and it's pretty much just been something that dude bought and just had just to have. Now, what did I get into it for? I got into it for a price I am not complaining about. Normally, these things went on eBay, and they were asking, sky's the limit, shoot for the moon, kind of ridiculous pricing. And by and large, they would tend to really kind of go crazy with the pricing on these things. So, you know what? Let's just do a quick look over here and a quick side-by-side comparison and, some measurements. Now, obviously, this is not a knife because I haven't finished it yet. It's just like, a display piece I put together just to be funny. Bought the blade one place, bought the handle another place, two guys on eBay, stuck it together, and, well, you see how that one works. Now, let's just see here overall length. This one is going to be, approximately, it is going to be 7 and 3/8 inches overall length, roughly. Yeah, 7 and 3/8 inches. Compared to the Techna dive knife, which is an honest, just a skosh over 7.5. So, just, take it as you will. Slight difference in, blade length in terms of the two things. Maybe it's just a slight bias on, length overall for the Techna dive knife. Obviously, the thickness on this is going to be a true 1/4 inch. This one's going to be quite a bit less in terms of actual stock thickness. But the actual feel on this is very, very close to, pretty much like the bigger handles where, kind of had like the swell at the rear. The True Guardians did not have this swell. This was something that came much earlier and was actually one of the design tweaks from Mr. Loveless, R.W. Loveless, when he was doing these things. And the Guardian series truly had like that swell where you could kind of, get a good feel in the palm of your hand and you're not going to like override. It's not going to slip out of your grasp. And that was something that they really truly had as a way of thinking with these things, is they really wish to have it so that you wouldn't override into the blade. Hence the guard, even on the Guardian, it had a smaller guard, but it still had a guard and usually had a pretty good sized butt that you wouldn't like slide over. Now, in terms of this one, they kind of had about the same thinking. It does also have those swells. It does have a very prominent guard, and you will not easily override simply because you also have this cutout. You now can index your thumb into the indents, kind of like the same deal. We basically can do the same thing on, like, the Techna, where you can use the hole. Well, you can do that same thing with this cutout that made this a skeleton-style blade. Now, let's see for blade length. Now, I'm just going to do from, like, the most rearmost portion of the guard here to make things easy, okay? I'm going to say, charitably, this is a 3.5 inch blade. Compared to the Techna, which comparatively will be closer to 3 3/4. So it's got a 1/4 inch advantage on the Gerber, but the Gerber really truly does feel. And if anybody been messing around with these things and they know these little Guardian guys, it feels like a Guardian. In terms of the weight between these two items, yes, the Techna does have quite a bit more mass. This one feels quite a bit lighter. The stock is thinner, so it kind of feels a little bit more lively. In terms of the actual, hands-on and whatnot, this one actually feels more kind of dualish, if you were, all right? If you will. It feels more dualish, you kind of have like more of a lively blade feel. This one kind of feels more just sturdy utilitarian, and yeah, you can still kind of, hack and stabby and all the rest of that stuff. This one kind of feels more just lighter. Even if the weights are close, it feels just lighter and more lively. And that's probably just because the stock is thinner and it has less profile and crossover. And this one actually has quite a bit more handle material than this one. And, comparing the two things, and I'm thinking the Techna has quite a bit more handle material simply because it's thicker stock. And even with the holes being somewhat similar in areas and all, this one's lighter. Sheath design, obviously, me and the Techna, locks in place. You have the thumb release. It's not going anywhere. It has a major, major advantage over this guy, which is just kind of sitting in there and, it's just kind of just friction fit. by and large, for my own purposes and my own, edification, I am truly stoked that I can now say I have one of these skeleton guys in my Gerber collection. These are not the easiest knives to find. They were very slow in terms of putting them out because the production was not huge. And when you encountered them in the gun and knife stores back in the good old days, they did not sit on the shelves for long, or you just didn't see them very often. So I am absolutely positively stoked that I now have one of these Gerber Guardian skeletons in my private personal collection, and I am a happy camper. All right, folks, on this one, I'm going to break off. Eat good, keep tendering. As always, you know it, you love it. Knife goodness. Keep them sharp, folks. See you guys. British!